All right, for our final presentation today is Steve Pratt from CBC Radio 3. I've known Steve for a long time. We worked together in TV way back. And he's been doing some incredible things at CBC Radio 3, and every couple of months we have a chat, and we sit down and talk about digital and cross-media and how this is affecting the world. And increasingly, the things that they're doing at CBC Radio 3 are not short of incredible. At one point, he was telling me last year that 50% of their listening audience came from outside of Canada. And the reason why they found that is because people were sending them postcards when they did campaigns, asking for people to send in a postcard or a picture of where people were actually listening to their music. And they got all these postcards. I was stunned. So it's a truly global company, part of CBC, and leading the way. Steve, you ready?
Yeah.
Great. Steve Pratt.
Thanks. So I'm going to dive right in before Captain Hook comes back here for me. I want to spend time talking about how CBC is thinking about where the future of radio is going and also where the future of music is going from the perspective of a public broadcaster, which is Radio 3. But I'll get to that in a minute. We met with this guy, Don Tapscott, who's an author, did Wikinomics and Grown Up Digital, really smart and interesting guy, when we were talking about the larger CBC and a music strategy for us. And he kind of scared the crap out of me a little bit. And his big message was that big media and big companies in general fail at paradigm shift because they're so hell-bent on protecting their existing business model and what they do well. And things can just sneak up from underneath them and destroy their business because they're so focused on saving what they've already got. And this is the part that kind of scared me. Why didn't Sony Music invent iTunes? Why didn't NBC invent YouTube? Why didn't the New York Times invent Craigslist, Encyclopedia Britannica, and Wikipedia? And why didn't Kodak invent Flickr? So we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what radio will fail to invent. And the way we started thinking about it was, what do people actually value about radio? And what are the things that they're finding other places to get that value, or what things are providing new value in that space that we can't provide? So talking specifically about music radio for this, not talk radio, but it plays songs that we love. It surprises us with songs that we've forgotten that we love. We have trusted guides like hosts and that introduce us to new songs and tell us about artists and why we should care about the artists. And it helps create moods and emotions and with the playlists that they make. And it can provide a really interesting shared experience to know that everybody is listening together in real time. But the big risks to radio are there's one stream for everybody instead of one just for me. I can't do anything when a song is played that I don't like. I can't hear my favorite songs whenever I want them to. I have to sit around and wait for them to play that song, which in some cases is too often for my liking because they rotate it too much. I can't really share a song on the radio with my friends if I like it and tell them about it. And it's harder. I guess there's some things where you can call in or you can go and be part of loyalty programs on things, but it's actually relatively hard to be part of a community on radio. So we also did some music research in Canada about how people use it. And this shouldn't be too much of a shocker for anybody, but 50% of Canadians share music monthly, less than 40% buy it, 60% watch music on YouTube every month, 2/3 have an MP3 player or smartphone, and 64% are making multiple playlists on their MP3 player. So there's a lot of stuff going on around music that obviously has nothing to do with radio. The big thing for me is that they're finding a lot of ways to discover and share music in ways that we can't. So how do we solve that? Well, we have a radio station that isn't actually on the air. So when we talk about that problem of protecting your old business, we've made up a service that doesn't have the old business called CBC Radio 3. And it's an innovation center for Canada's public broadcaster. It's based out in Vancouver, which in some ways I think actually helps it be more innovative because it's away from kind of the larger corporate infrastructure. And we have three big goals. One is to raise awareness of new Canadian music. The second one is to reach newer audiences and younger audiences on different platforms, and then to try and figure out the future of music radio. So there's a couple weird things about it when we started it up, and we thought, how are we going to do this without a radio station? All the music that's played on the air is uploaded to the website first by artists. So there's always an on-demand offer of every song played on the radio. So you can go from a linear mode of listening to the radio into, I want to hear that song again, you can do that. We currently have over 22,000 artists up on the site. We're going to hit our 100,000th song in the next day or two, which we're pretty excited about. It's a big milestone for Canadian music. When I started there, I didn't actually think there were 100,000 songs in Canada, but that's very exciting. And every song is available on demand for it. I think our biggest lesson, and this is maybe something obvious at a place called cross media, but is to not define ourselves by our content, or by our content, but not by our platform. So we put out content on all these different platforms here, and the biggest thing that's, I think, a contradiction, we're called CBC Radio 3, but we don't actually think of ourselves as a radio station. We define ourselves as a music delivery service or a music discovery service. And I think that that's a fairly big piece to wrap your head around, that you're an expert in a type of content. You need to figure out what the value is of that content on a lot of different spaces for it. Number two is own a niche. We picked a fairly small one. It's 100% Canadian. Sorry about the fonts here. I had to put it on a different computer and the font wasn't on it. It's mucked up. We're 100% Canadian with the music. It's ridiculous if you ask anybody in broadcasting to do that. We're not on AM or FM, and it's all emerging and independent artists. So in a nice way, we own the niche because absolutely no one in the private industry is there. But the interesting thing, and I think what Siobhan brought up, is that the audience is global. And in a traditional market on radio, you have it's local, and you need to put in enough really popular music to get a big enough audience in Vancouver or in Toronto or wherever you live. But there's a lot of fans of independent music and a lot of people who don't like getting served the same music on FM radio, that if you aggregate all those people all over the world, it's actually a decent audience. It's not huge, it's not broadcast numbers, but about 850,000 tracks played a month on the website, 125,000 podcasts of music downloaded a week, about 275,000 page views. I think we have about 120,000 users that have registered for the site, and they've created over 100,000 playlists on the website of their own music. And again, sorry for the formatting on this. It's supposed to say power to the people, rather than just power to the sky. This is the other really big one too, and it's part of that not defining yourself by your platform, but to really not think of yourself as a broadcaster anymore, because one-to-many just doesn't cut it with the younger generation. Like we actually, I think in an older form would say when we were broadcasting a radio show on Radio 2, it's the one-to-many model. It could also be seen as the passive model of somebody where you just sit there and get what we have to give you because we're the experts that make the programming and send it out to you, the people who want to consume things that experts make for them. And that's not all bad. There's still a lot of people who like that experience. But the biggest problem that we've found is that music fans actually want input into what they listen to, and we're not giving them a voice. I'll give you a quick story on this. I don't know what my time is, but I'll race. There's these weirdos who go out and take pictures of themselves in Stormtrooper helmets and CBC shirts and just put them up on Flickr. So we have a whole bunch of user-generated content from this. No, 2, 3, okay. We've tried to model CBC Radio 3 more like a social network, where we're a tool or a set of features at the hub of a community that actually lets the community do a lot of things on their own. Something that's based around trying to be a place where people can go be active rather than passive. And so we redid our website, and these are the big features that we put in on it. I won't go through all of it, but all of them are based around giving power back to the user. We have an audio player that's designed for social music sharing, so that any song you're listening to on the radio, you go click on it and it takes you to a page for more music. You can add it to a playlist, you can rate it, you can share the song on social networks. Again, things that traditional radio can't do, but are actually probably really good for Canadian artists that would like to get their music discovered. We let any music fan create unlimited number of playlists because all the songs are on the website, so they can come in, and if they don't like the song that's playing on the radio, they can make their own playlist and listen to that whenever they want, and they can also share their own playlists with whoever they want, which lets them become a tastemaker for their own friends and their own social network if they'd like to. We let people have their own pages so that when people find other people with playlists that they like, or they find other people that like the same bands as they do, they can learn a little bit more about them and create again, little groups of pockets that may like music that they wouldn't find in our regular radio programming. Some of the other things just around taking away from regular radio, we let people see everything that's coming up on the radio station, and we actually let them dump out of radio if they want to just go listen to a song that's coming up 10 minutes from now and just listen to that song now, rather than have to wait for it. This is actually probably one of the neater features on the website. It's a box that just constantly updates every 10 seconds about what people are listening to on demand on the website right now. So it's users and their actual behavior are providing recommendations to people on the website to show them, this is what other people are doing, why don't you give it a shot and check it out? 30 seconds, okay. So anyways, the site is doing well. Increases in visits, uploads, artists signing up, comments on the site in terms of interaction and people coming back all the time. The biggest lessons for us, and I'm going to go real fast here, stop trying to provide what audiences want on your own. This is a big control issue for broadcasters and traditional media, and start empowering the audiences to help each other provide their own solutions. Give up control for it, and you'll be shocked at the new value that you get out of it. Stop defining it solely as stuff that experts create, and acknowledge that lots of other people like music and make great music mixes that we can't. Provide options to get out of your programming, which again is very counterintuitive. Let people go into nonlinear mode, let them become active and personalize things that aren't yours. Think about tools and services rather than just programming that help people achieve your goals. We think of it as just our goal is to deliver great programming. It's actually to help people discover music or enjoy spending time with you. I'll just go past this, we've already done this. This is a whopper. This is kind of, again, what Siobhan was saying, but when all the content is on demand and shareable, your audience becomes your marketers. They share your content. Third-party people who love your product are the best people to go grow your service. And we actually don't have a marketing or communications budget. All our growth comes from this. Okay, yeah.
The hook.
Get the hook. The hook.
Let's give Steve a round of applause, please.
All right.
Siobhan?
One last thing. They're not even words.
Okay,
the last thing. I had one last thing I just wanted to show you. This is the awesome thing that I just love this, is that when we give people the power, you get all these surprising things. People making your logo out of pierogies, the stormtroopers, fried bologna, and this is my favorite, a tattoo. That's people who love your product. So, yeah.
Nice. No, I'm going to keep you up here. I'm going to take 5 minutes of questions with Siobhan and Steve. Where's Siobhan? Oh, do you want to pop over to that one over there?